Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the latest edition of Educators Rising's Grow Your Own webinar series. My name is John Hendron, and I'm Director of Public Relations for PDK International Educators Rising. If you're new to the organization, we run a career and technical student organization called Educators Rising that is in high schools across the country with over 20,000 student members right now. And I am so pleased this afternoon to be joined by one of our partnering organizations, the Teaching Channel, and having special guest Dr. Wendy Amato to join us. And so thank you to Wendy for joining us and sharing what I would call the main event of our webinar, which is to learn more about the incredible resource in Teaching Channel's video library. I'm going to get started this afternoon by just giving you a quick introduction to what we do if you are brand new to us. And if you are familiar with us, you may learn a few things as well. But one of the reasons we exist is to help districts and schools assuage what we identify nationally now as the teacher shortage crisis. And that number in the middle is pretty scary. That was a statistic from, I believe the last time it was counted was the fall of 23. That school year, 55,000 unfilled vacancies existed in our public schools. What's even more sobering is that 270,000 folks who were employed by school districts uh, in front of students were underqualified. This meant that maybe they were long-term substitutes, they may not even have a college degree, or they were certified teachers, but they weren't certified in the right subject for what they were teaching. And so obviously we recognize that many districts out there are struggling to find ways to get the right mix of people into their schools every year. And while we're going to focus primarily on teaching and learning, we also realize that this goes to other positions that school districts are trying to fill. And one of the things we do at Educators Rising is expose students to the full gamut of career options that are available in schools. The other statistic that you see on the slide there is that some of our largest districts in the country, and if you are an HR professional, you may already know this, that you are spending quite a bit of money to pull in fresh recruits. The largest districts will spend $25,000 per teacher to get them in the classroom. So our solution, we consider it one of the many flavors of what we call grow your own, which is to cultivate an interest in your middle and high school students, to consider a career in education, to give them practical experience by actually getting opportunities to teach while they're in high school. And then we help them with support if they decide to sign on with a college or university and major in education. So how does it all work? We have a model that we call the 5 Cs. As educators, we like easy ways to remember things. So you can count it on one hand, which is great, and it uses all the same letter. The center of this is the idea of a chapter. Creating a chapter at your school is very easy to do. You only need one interested teacher and at least one interested student to create an Educators Rising chapter. And we have chapters in over 1,200 schools across the country right now. Many of them have more than one student, admittedly, but to get started, you have to get started somewhere. So if you had a student who you knew wanted to be a teacher, you're going to be connecting them with an entire community of like-minded students who have identified this passion that they may want to consider teaching. You won't believe how many times when we talk to students that this passion started very early when they were in kindergarten or first grade. They had their first taste of school and they came home and they were doing a classroom situation in their bedroom with Barbies. They wanted to be a teacher. That resonated with them. And while I went on a path and got a degree in music, I did have that kind of itch when I was in first grade. I really admired my teacher. I thought, I might want to do that someday. It's amazing how that sticks with you. Um, One of the things that you saw if you were on early with that video clip we played is we run a national conference. This year, it's going to be this June in Orlando. The year after that, I'm not going to pre-announce it yet, but folks who come to the conference will learn where our next conference is as well. But the conference is this, what we call our Super Bowl. It's probably the most exciting time for our staff because we actually get to meet the students who we are serving year round. That conference also comes with competitions. And as a former high school student myself, I was not part of Educators Rising. We did not have that when I was in school, but we did have other CTSO experiences. And I went to the state conference. I got to compete, and it proved to me, probably better than any teacher or any grade I got, that I actually could do some things. Um, I focused on computer programming and writing programs when I went there, and I did it as a hobby, but it proved to me that, John, you can actually do this stuff. And then I qualified to go to a national conference, and that was an amazing experience to be able to go and meet students that were like me, who had an interest, in my case, technology and business, and wanted to get into that, to prove to ourselves that we actually can do this. So that's the kind of role that a really strong CTSO provides students, but it also comes with the coursework. And Educators Rising, while it's very easy to create a chapter, very inexpensive to create a chapter, you're only really considering a $15 due per student. The curriculum is an optional add-on. You're not required to use our curriculum, but we have spent a number of years at cultivating and enhancing the experience for schools and districts who say, I'm not sure how to lead the CTE portion of this program. And so we have a very comprehensive curriculum that will go into a little more detail on tonight's webinar. We recently redid our core values for our organization, which come over into Educators Rising. Some people really want to know, what are you about? Well, we're about these 5 core values. If you ask any of our staff, they know what those are. They've experienced them, and they know that, when we interface with all of you who are in schools and districts, you should experience these from us. So we strive for excellence. We are all about cultivating leadership and supporting those who are leaders in the field. And we also believe very heavily in academic optimism. Right now, we have affiliate relationships across 38 states. That basically means in the states that are bright blue that there are state conference experiences that students can take a part in. So if you're in Texas, for instance, we have a huge following in Texas, and they do regional events. They're so big that they do regional events, then they go to a state conference, and then if they qualify, they come to nationals. And so there's a state experience for Educators Rising, and then obviously you'd interface with folks from us if you were coming to the national competition. One of the most recent areas we just added here was the Central Coast of California. We're really happy to have a number of schools in California on board right now. And as I mentioned at the start, we have over 20,000 student members right now. The programs for Educators Rising can last between 1 and 4 years typically. We have some districts that we work with that start in middle school because they want a feeder program, because they have a full 4-year program that they're trying to support. You're going to find that our curriculum, while it's a full on curriculum for a full 2-year experience, many districts will flush that out over a 4-year experience, not only through the CTE class, but sometimes enhancing chapter activities with the content available through there as well. In terms of our impact, although this year we are celebrating 10 years as Educators Rising, we actually, PDK International, acquired Future Educators Association back in '94. Since then, we've invested a lot of time, money, and energy into making that CTSO even stronger. And so starting in 2015, we became known as Educators Rising. We made investments in curriculum and standards. We partnered with a number of partner organizations to come up with those. And today, we're proud to say that we've been able to positively affect over 150,000 students in our 10 years as Educators Rising. So, teaching channel. I want to introduce Dr. Amato. She has been teaching since 1991. She's been in K-12, not only as a department chair, but an administrator, She's done university teaching. She's had tons of experience with professional development. And now she is the Chief Academic Officer for Teaching Channel, which is a K-12 coalition company. And Wendy, I want to give everybody, I want to hand you the mic and talk a little bit about what Teaching Channel is all about.
John, thank you for having me, and thank you for your leadership in Educators Rising. I am grateful to know that there are many of us interested in addressing the teacher shortage, and grateful to know that there's a level of commitment to doing it well. There's one thing to put a teacher in a classroom, and it's another thing and much more meaningful to put a well-prepared, qualified educator in front of the classroom. And Educators Rising partnering with you all is something to celebrate. I am appreciative that one of the things that Educators Rising is emphasizing is that when we work together, we really create a community of educators. There's a strong network, and that creates opportunities for those who lead the chapters, and then also for those students who hear the calling of coming into teaching. And so thank you for having me as a guest in the conversation today. Teaching Channel has been around for a while, since there are parts of it that have been around for decades, but it is actually a nice combination of efforts. You can see a few things on the screen here. Teaching Channel has graduate level continuing education courses that teachers use to renew their teaching license, to gain salary advancement in their career paths, but also just to sharpen their skills in being effective in the classroom. And so as people enter the profession and become aware of their strengths and needs, there are always opportunities to continue improving teaching practice, and we are right there to partner in doing that. Um, we help with graduate level continuing education, but we also have what we call hours only courses. And that is a little bit softer professional development that you take when you simply want to sort of huddle up and advance a skill or gain some knowledge in an area. And then the K-12 hub that you have mentioned there is actually thousands of resources that educators seek, everything from downloadable templates, lesson plans, micro teaching units, blogs, webinar recordings, podcasts, the kinds of things that teachers are looking for when they want to have models for things. And speaking of models for things, that's why I want to talk about the video library today with you. And we'll spend the majority of our time focused on that. There are over 2,100 videos in the Teaching Channel library, and I describe them as exemplars. And to me, I know, John, in speaking with you about that word, I wanted to emphasize, I love that we don't present these videos as though they are perfection. That everything in a classroom needs to look, sound, and feel exactly like a video on the library. I love the word exemplar because it is rooted in the understanding that our videos are models. And I would love for classrooms across the country to look, sound, and feel exactly like the videos here. But I appreciate that educators and aspiring educators, those educators rising into the classrooms, I appreciate that people need to consider the resources that they have, or the students that they're serving, or the priorities of the community, and adjust what they see in an exemplar so that it can be as effective as possible in the specific classroom that you're serving. We'll take a look here at some of the features of the video library. In the video library, we know that incorporating video into teacher preparation means providing consistency in the models and flexibility for focusing on various aspects of teaching and learning, and also flexibility for sharing and observation. One of the biggest challenges that educators talk about, classroom teachers or school leaders, is time. And when we can work together with a video library and use video tools, it It allows us to relax our shoulders with that pressure of time and scheduling and still be effective in sharing a conversation about what's happening in the classroom. We get to share observations and reflect on the experiences of the students in the lessons. And so that's part of why we have the video library in the space that we have. I love that videos bring lesson plans to life. And we spend a lot of time preparing educators and having them understand how to design a lesson plan. But when you can see it, when you see the lesson, a video from a real classroom, the way our videos are filmed, they create representations of concepts and strategies so teachers know not only what to do, but how to do it. And that's one of the joys that I see in the Educators Rising curriculum. It's the what to do and how to do it. And I love that our organizations get to partner with that commitment to preparing good teachers. Why don't we take a look at the site, and I'll show you a few things that I'm proud of that are available through Educators Rising and our collaboration. Let's see. I want to show you the basic teaching channel video library, and then a few special things that I've got teed up for us to take a look at. So you should see now the teaching channel site. I've logged us in and just brought us to the teaching channel video library. One of the things I love about this library is that even with over 2,800 videos, you can filter the list. And filtering helps us zoom in to those specific areas of need that we may be looking for, or topics that we're curious about. The filtered list can be about the grade level. If you're focused on a certain grade band, then you can just filter that way. If you are looking for specific information on particular subjects, you can see that that's one of the drop-down menus here. And then often there are topics that we're looking for, and we can search for those. Maybe it's classroom culture. How do I create a warm environment? Maybe it's instructional coaching, or you're working on a lesson and want to think about some strategies that will help you differentiate across that range of emerging learners and those who are accelerated and ready for a little more challenge. And so between the filter options that you have, you really can identify videos that will help you in your quest to improving your teaching. I wanted to spotlight a couple of things in the library too, even just scrolling through. You can see in the timestamp on each of these video title cards is a duration. And we have videos that are as short as 1 minute or 2 minutes that just offer you a moment of something during a lesson. And then we have other full-length lessons that show you a class period, beginning, middle, and end. So depending on what your focus is or your need, you've got a nice way to have just a bite or have a full meal by looking at the durations, distinguishing clips from full lessons. I'm going to open a couple of videos for you and show you. Let me move some things on my screen. I want to open a couple of videos and show some other features here. First, I want to point out, I love that our videos align so beautifully with the curriculum of Educators Rising. I know there's great emphasis on collaborative work in the Educators Rising program. And so you can see here, working together as co-teachers is one of the videos that you could look at. I wanted to show you on this particular page that our videos are accompanied by thought starter questions. And if you're in charge of a chapter and you are preparing the next generation of educators, I don't want you spending your time crafting thought starter questions. I want Teaching Channel to give them to you. And so every video in the library is accompanied by thought starter questions. And I wanted to be sure to point those out to you as part of our tour of the library. Um, Imagine asking your students to watch a video and assign them the thought starter question. Give them some moments to jot some notes or rewatch the video focused on a particular aspect of the clip, and then inviting students to exchange ideas. That will be a wonderfully enriching way to take advantage of the Teaching Channel library. There are a lot of use cases like that that can help us elevate our teacher preparation program. Let's see, I mentioned co-teaching and collaboration as a great place where Teaching Channel and Educators Rising are aligned. Another one here, look at this one, a video on inquiry-based teaching. Inquiry and discussion, conversation, exploring, and negotiated meaning, those are all elements of the Educators Rising curriculum that are existent and present and active in the Teaching Channel library also. So for whether you are new as a chapter leader exploring it and considering it, or whether you are seasoned and have been through it year over year, there's a great opportunity to showcase some models and bring to life the how of inquiry-based teaching or discussion-based learning lessons. It's kind of nice to see these and be able to use the thought starter questions or recognize how the directions of an Educators Rising curriculum recommendation, how those lessons play out and look and feel in the classroom. So I pulled those up for us to have a peek there. And then I actually want to play a video here about assessment. One of my favorite lessons in the Educators Rising curriculum is not just a singular lesson, but actually a concept that pulls through the curriculum, is thinking about assessment not as a test at the end of a unit, but assessment as a way to provide a learner with feedback, progress towards a learning goal, or opportunities to improve their understanding. And so I selected this video. You can see from the time indicator there, just a 2-minute video where we get to see how formative assessment looks in this particular classroom. We've got a teacher sharing and explaining a strategy described as the UPS strategy. We're going to learn what that stands for. This clip I love sharing because it includes a little bit of teacher interview mixed with some filming inside the classroom. And to me, one of the gifts of the Teaching Channel library, the gift of being in Educators Rising, is that we get to have those conversations about teaching and learning while connecting to the classroom experience. And so I think this one is a nice one for us to share here. Let me bring it up for us. You'll see I can play the video within the platform. I can go to full screen as well, but for our purposes, I'll leave it right here so we can take a look at the platform and how it offers us all of these exemplar models. Here we go. I'm going to pause the video and ask you to think about the different ways that a person can watch a video like this one. And then after the video, perhaps John and I can talk about some different ways of seeing the content in this particular clip. There we go.
Today, we're going to use the UPS check process again. The UPS process is a strategy that I use. The U stands for understanding the problem first. The P stands for planning out the steps that you're going to use to solve the problem. Then the S stands for the solve part of the problem, giving the reasoning why you're doing your steps. And the check part checks for your reasoning to see if your answer is logical, your calculations are right. The challenge is on. Let's see, can you use the thinking process embedded with all the other strategies in order to solve the problem? You got 3. During the U process, I've noticed this. If a child can't articulate it in writing, they probably got a reading comprehension issue. In this section, in the planning, you're supposed to devise a plan in writing. I see the pictorial part, but where's the writing? 2, if they can't plan it, they can draw it and they can see it, then they can write it out a little bit better. But that helps me with knowing my visual learners and things like that. You're skipping all the steps in between. I'm gonna need The work shown here, that came from the calculator, right? So whatever tan was, put that there equal to x over 100 and finish it out. And then show me this part. The solve part, if they just repeating some steps and don't know why, then that tells me I have to go back and explain why they did so. Go back over some more properties, some more rules, some more definitions, some theorems. Surface area? Wait a minute.
Use volume. Okay.
Your volume is your inside. Your surface area is only the outside. So that would only be the outside portion. So it has to be volume. And of course, they find a way of checking it. That means they really, really understand it.
We should prove why we use tan instead of like cosine and sine.
Okay.
Oh, y'all trying to check your work. Okay, good job. Go on with that. Yeah, good.
That's a fun one. All right, John, what did you notice?
So we saw this video before, but I noticed some things I didn't notice the first time. If I was talking about how to set up my classroom and how to be organized, the first thing I noticed in the background was she had some tables where she had caddies ready to go, which I was assumed would be calculators because I know math teachers will keep them in that way. But we could talk about the way she's organized her classroom with the desks, how she's encouraging the group work and discussion, and then how she's walking, facilitating, and modeling that. My guess is that this strategy could be repeated multiple times for different types of math problems, and the more often that she's modeling that for students, the more automatic that would become for them to be working together. I always love when teachers feel they give their kids markers to write things out. I thought that was cool. My background, Wendy, was instructional technology, so I saw that paper. I'm like, that would be a discussion about if you are a very comfortable teacher with using lots of paper, how would you make any modifications to that lesson if it was going to be delivered through a digital platform like a learning management system? And then, of course, if I was interested in math, I would be very interested in the specific lessons she did and how she formatted it. I would think about probably how could I get my students to do this type of activity, because I know not every math classroom looks like the one we just saw. And then finally, if I was a student in an Educators Rising classroom and I was considering this, of course, I'm in school right now and I can immediately make comparisons between my experience in math class and what we just saw. And so while we are teaching a specific methodology for assessment, I think students in being able to not only reflect on their own experiences, but the ones they just saw in that short video clip would be an awesome way to explore, hey, assessment looked like this in the video, but your teacher is actually doing assessment too. It just looks different. And then they could discuss potentially pros and cons versus the different situations. How did I do?
That was good. Are you preparing future educators? Are you involved in an educational organization? You sort of have the eye. That was great. I love it. Your observations from even just that 2-minute clip tell us how rich a good video can be for pushing conversations and getting examples. I would recommend to a chapter leader to choose a video, perhaps watch it the first time with the class with no sound. And just see what you notice from watching. And then perhaps a second time, really paying attention to the teacher moves. And then perhaps a third time, not focused on the teacher at all, but watching for student behaviors. That would be a great use case to help people begin to see all the kinds of things that you were able to see simultaneously. Yep. But as we get our young people more equipped to see and notice and improve practices, it could be really useful. That was great. Let's talk about curriculum a little bit.
Okay. I will go ahead and share my screen again. Hopefully I do it correctly. There we go. So I mentioned at the beginning that our program, you don't have to use our curriculum. It is an optional purchase from us. It is organized around what we call the Educators Rising Standards, which you can see on the screen. What I will tell folks, if you are familiar with us, this summer is one of those summers where we're really busy. Our current curriculum model, if you were a subscriber, is titled the 2022 to 2025 curriculum. Why was it labeled that? It's because we built in to do revisions to the curriculum every 3 years. And so this is the summer that we're preparing a new set of curricular resources for the upcoming school year in 25-26. Some things have stayed the same. We've got the flexible application. When you get the curriculum from us, you'll get access to it through our membership portal. They're downloadable PowerPoint documents that you can edit. And so while they are perfectly aligned to our standards, if there are practices in your specific school district that you want to incorporate, if there are extra examples, if there's a video clip off of YouTube you want to use, you can feel free to edit those. But they come in 2 versions. They come in a 1-day version and they come in a 3 to a 5-day version. And so if your school, for instance, follows the type of schedule that I had when I was in high school, which was a 9-period day and you meet every day in the same classes, you would use the 3-day sequence and then follow up 2 days with some more applied learning. And that could be project-based. There are tons of resources that you get as an Educators Rising teacher leader that come for free, that are not tied to the curriculum. And you can, of course, tap into those resources as well to augment things. The new curriculum will be about the same length as our current. I believe the current one's 65, 67 lessons, and that will be the same for this one. It's fully organized to give a complete, you can get through it in 2 years if you have a full-time CTE class in your school. One of the things that we offered starting this past school year was the Educators Rising lesson assessments. This was valued when we addressed it to around $1,500 value for the 20 student license that typically comes with the curriculum purchase. We ended up deciding that for this upcoming school year that we are not going to charge for that. We want everybody to have access to it. It basically is our first foray into doing what I think Teaching Channel does very well. They have a digital platform for their professional development, the video library. This is our first real digital product aside from our membership platform. Students will log into it. There's an assessment for every lesson in the curriculum. It's aligned. It means that you as the teacher do not have to design those particular assessments. You have a choice in the assessment platform whether you want to do multiple choice or a short answer. You can assign one, the other, or both for every lesson. And as you might imagine, the multiple choice ones get auto-graded. For those that are short answer, you'll have a part to play, but we've given you a rubric for each one to make grading pretty easy, and our design for all of that was to save our teachers time. Obviously, if you're trying to teach a career education pathways course and the whole curriculum is available to you with student-facing resources that you'll use through the PowerPoints, your job just became a little bit easier. We also have options. Some of our schools are very interested in giving a type of assessment that's more practically based, where you show what you've learned. So we have a micro-credentials product that is an optional add-on. And then many of our districts recognize that the Parapro is a very popular assessment from ETS, either for state certification for completing your CTE program or in helping students prepare for employment. One of our national officers this year, she graduated from high school last year. She's now going to school towards her getting her teacher license, and to help pay for her education and to also help her gain skills, she is now working as a paraprofessional while going to school in her home district, I believe. And what this means is she took the Parapro, she got certified, and right out of high school, she is able to get practical experience while also going to school. The other ways that schools enhance the experience is through dual enrollment opportunities. Obviously, if you can help shave down the cost of higher education for students who want to get into teaching, that is awesome. And we have documentation to show folks how to do that. And in some cases, we're helping folks figure that out with dual enrollment. But these are all ways to basically ease the process for getting students who want to come back to your district and teach for you. That's what makes it a grow your own solution. Districts that have an Educators Rising program are typically opening the door for their past graduates who become certified. When we talk to college professors, students who go through an Ed Rising program that has the CTE component that we're talking about with curriculum, they are leaps and bounds ahead of other students in the education majors. And why is that? It's because they've already had teaching experience from high school. They've already had a class that's gone through pedagogy, the roles of school boards, education policy, and then, of course, learning all about the different career options out there. I wanted to show you one of a sneak peek at one of our lessons. If you are currently an Educators Rising curriculum subscriber, you will find these lessons under the beta tab in our membership portal. And if you contact our outreach and engagement folks, and I'll give you a contact QR code to scan at the end of the webinar, they can also give you trial access, and you would have access to see these lessons. So this one is on collaborative planning. I'm not going to take you through the whole thing because it is one of the 3-day lessons, but I want to give you an idea, and this is the portion that students would see. In addition to the slides themselves, the notes section of every PowerPoint is chock full of notes for the teacher. And this includes online resources that go beyond what's on the slide. In some cases, these are references to maybe a statement that's made or a quote that's made, but many times it's supplementary information. And we purposefully try to find content online that's free, that doesn't require you to pay an extra fee to get to. In some cases, we reference really well-known education texts, but for the most part, these are free and online resources that you can use yourself as a teacher or share with students. You'll also find, I'm not going to show you what this looks like, but the end of every PowerPoint is a huge reference section, and everything is pre-hyperlinked for you. And that's part of what we're doing this summer, is not only to enhance the lessons, to take feedback from the field and improve some, but also to make sure that all those links and whatnot that are in there are going to be working. So in this particular one, we are introducing the concepts of how to collaborate. And Wendy showed you a video earlier that would have been a perfect addition to this lesson on collaboration. And we're talking about the planning portion of that. You'll notice that any of our slides that have that little notebook at the top, that's an indication that there is a student guidebook follow along that students can follow. That's an indication to them, oh, open up the PDF file that your teacher shared with you. There's places for you guys to take notes, and it reinforces what's on the slide in that particular case. We explore things like, why do teachers collaborate, right? And I could sell you on all these wonderful reasons why collaboration is a good idea, but we also want to talk about some of the challenges. A good analogy that I would use in this case is, saving money is a good idea, but inevitably when you start your first job and you've got things to pay for like food and rent and all those things, you may not always feel like you have the extra money. So there are challenges to, being on your own, having a job. There are challenges to collaboration. So we talk about that as well. You'll see a lot of call outs in our slides like this. These are indications that are replicated in the teacher notes to lead discussions in the classroom. In the final slide I'll show you here is we always start and end with our lesson objectives. So this is a great time to pause, do some formative assessment as the teacher leader in the classroom, and see if students are prepared to move on and do that lesson assessment that's been already created for you in our digital platform. So this is kind of a sneak peek of what a lesson looks like. And I've pulled slides from one of ours that goes across a 3-day sequence. And while we do provide you with a scope and sequence with a recommended path that folks would follow, you're obviously able to change the order and to accommodate your program. And if you're doing it over multiple years, You may even want to swap some of the lessons we think are better for one year or another. That's totally up to you. Now, you've seen Teaching Channel, and you might be starting to think, gosh, I could do things like, since I can edit these PowerPoints, if I wanted to pull up that video on assessment, I would have a URL after going over to the Teaching Channel library. I could grab that URL, I could put an icon on my slide, I could do a hyperlink. I can basically, if I'm using my interactive whiteboard, I can immediately go over to that resource as long as I am logged into the platform. So the thing I want to show you next is how do you access this? Now, obviously, if you're not an Educators Rising teacher leader, you would go to Teaching Channel and you would sign up and work with them to get a subscription to the teaching library. But the partnership between Teaching Channel and Educators Rising means that as an Educators Rising teacher leader, doesn't mean you have to purchase our curriculum, you get access to the video library. And so the way our teacher leaders get to it is they go and sign into our membership portal. On the sidebar, there's an area there for high school resources. And then I clicked on the link for teacher leader resources. And this is a really long page that jumps off in all different areas. You're going to scroll down to about the middle past the video section. You're going to look for that beautiful logo that Teaching Channel uses with the butterfly wings. And right there, that blue link, that will take you right to their platform. And I've got to give credit to the way Teaching Channel did this. I used to work in instructional technology. I would negotiate with all different kinds of companies to try to make life easier for our teachers and our students with single sign-on things. They basically, once you sign in, you click on that link, it takes you right into their platform. It couldn't be easier. And one of the things that you may have noticed when Wendy was showcasing the platform itself, there's ways to save videos as favorites so you can find them easily again. And then even cooler, you can build your own playlists in the platform. So that's what the experience looks like. Wendy's showed you a little bit of it. I've encouraged anybody on the webinar today, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A, and we'll see if any come up, Wendy.
I love that we're working to make sure teachers have plenty of resources and access to ways to customize and supplement. I can add also maybe a link here in the chat to an additional content hub with materials also free, and we'll just keep giving back to teachers who are giving so much to this next generation of teachers. It's incredible. Thank you for reminding about the opportunity to mark videos as a favorite. I love recommending to educators that they just have a moment to relax with the Teaching Channel library, look around, maybe not a doom scroll, but feel free to get lost in the videos, marking favorites, so that you have some teed up for later. And then those playlists are great, especially as you become more familiar with the Educators Rising curriculum. You could start to make a playlist that you pair with specific lessons that you have coming up, and could do all of that searching and playlist making in one sitting and improve your efficiency, save some time. That's great. John, I
Wendy,
love this.
one of the things that an old adage, if you will, and I can't remember this is attributed to Ben Franklin or something, but when you can teach others about something, you typically know it pretty well. One of the reactions I had watching that video today was if students were exposed to some of these Teaching Channel videos and how you all have framed them, a conversation with the teacher, examples of things happening in the classroom that showcase the particular subject. In this case, we were looking at an assessment strategy. This could become a project-based learning type activity where we ask students to make their own videos showcasing an instructional strategy and replicating sort of that model that you all provided. I don't know if that is something you've heard of before, but I definitely would probably try it, just having experience in a one-to-one environments where every student had access to iPads and MacBooks and video editing software. I think that would be a great project.
It would be a great project, and the opportunity to reflect on the process and the end product would be priceless.
So when we have one question that's been popped up, and it says, if I'm a member of PDK International, so for those of you on the call who don't know the full gamut of what PDK offers, we also have two membership organizations, one of which is Phi Delta Kappa, and they are part of the Houston area chapter. Would they be able to access the teaching channel through PDK? The answer is yes. Teaching Channel has been generous to give our PDK members and Ed Rising teacher leaders access to Teaching Channel. And so as long as you sign into our membership portal, you have that benefit available to you through the link. Just as I showed you, you can click on it, access the library. You can't take the videos out of the library. You have to use it within the library. But you would have access to what you just saw this afternoon on the video. Well, I'll do my teacher wait time to see if we get any additional questions to pop up. But while we're waiting, I'm going to go ahead and do one last share and just let folks know that you obviously can find out more about Educators Rising by going to our website. This QR code will take you to a form. If you're interested in any of the products that we offer through Educators Rising, including lesson assessments, micro-credentials, Parapro, there's an opportunity for you to give us your name and email address, and somebody will reach out to you tomorrow and answer any questions you have about that. If you just like to be on our mailing list to get updates from Educators Rising / PDK International, let us know in the form as well, and we will be sure to get you subscribed to our regular outreach. And just like everybody else, nobody needs extra emails that don't work for you. I am the guy who sends out the emails, and I'm very purposeful about always sending out content I think people can use. But if at any time you're subscribed to us and you want to unsubscribe, it's really easy to do. It's just as easy as getting over to the teaching channel. There's an unsubscribe button and it works immediately. So we certainly want to lock you into anything that you can't use. But again, educatorsrising.org. If you go to the curriculum page, you'll learn more about that. And obviously, if you want to know more about Teaching Channel and all of the range of services that they're offering, including their professional development, Wendy, do you want to put your URL in the chat for folks?
You bet. I'll do that. And while we're talking about teacher professional development and continuing education, one of my most favorite courses that is available right now is called Rethinking Assignments and Assessments in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. And so I mentioned that one too, as we continue to keep ourselves sharp in the education space. We're teachingchannel.com. How about that? There we go.
Well, Wendy, on behalf of, again, PDK International, I want to thank you and Teaching Channel for being partners with us. I will mention that you guys played a role with your expertise in videography. Wendy was actually able to come to our national conference last year in Washington, D.C. There was a video crew there who did some absolutely amazing videos with our teacher leaders and students. All of us at PDK, when those videos came through, we took some time. There were emotional tears from the authenticity of those conversations you all captured. So if folks haven't seen those, we have one of them on our front page of our website right now, and we encourage you to watch it. It reinvigorates the work that we do to support those who are interested in getting into the teaching profession. And want to thank everyone for joining us today on this webinar. Hopefully this is news that you can use, and we are here to help you from both of our organizations with any of your professional development needs to starting a chapter with Educators Rising in your school. Again, I can't tell you how easy it is to do. And once you get started, if you decide that you need curriculum, we're here to support you with that as well.
John, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being your guest.
Thank you.